Hello and welcome to Offstage. My name is Shaman Abia, and today we will be talking to progressive prodigy Robyn Ferguson. Welcome to the episode of Offstage.
Hey, thank you so much.
So, Robyn, how did you start out, or not even how did you start out? Like, when did you know that you are a prog prodigy?
Well, I don't think I've ever really known it. So thank you. That's a big compliment. I mean, I've just always enjoyed music and always have enjoyed playing guitar and pushing the boundaries. So I think from the moment I picked it up, I've just wanted to do something different and push it.
So, when did you start making music?
Well, I wish I had started younger, but I think I just annoyed my parents with like bashing pots and pans the whole time. So it only really became serious from the age of 12 when I really bugged my parents so much that they eventually just got me a guitar to keep me quiet. But I will never forget the moment that like fell in love with the instrument, which was walking in town and seeing this guy busking on the street corner. And I just remember looking at him and seeing the smile on his face and going like, yo, I want that. And yeah, like, I mean, just bugged them enough, I guess. So started off playing in the bedroom, and here we are.
From a young age, have you always played the kind of music that you create today?
Yes and no. I mean, I think everyone goes through the phases. Originally, like learning to play an instrument, traditionally people like say you have to go the classical route. So I went that road, and it was very beneficial for many reasons, but it was also very boring at the time. So, I mean, I went through like punk into like symphonic stuff into death metal, and here we are. But I think there's always been like a thread of mushing stuff together to get to prog, I guess. Just all the influences.
And who would you say influenced you the most in your progressive music that you're creating?
It's hard to just like pinpoint one person or one band, but for me, it's more than just a musician. It's art. It's life. It's people. It's experiences. If we have to look at artists and musicians, it would be people like Edgar Allan Poe, Lewis Carroll, who aren't even musicians per se, but like Salvador Dali. And the list goes on. And then, I mean, if you're looking music wise, it would be people like Devin Townsend, if we're talking like current alive musicians, the likes of Tesseract, and so on and so on. So, I mean, like, the list is very, very long.
It is. And to be honest, I think I found out about progressive music probably last year, September, and I'm in love with that kind of music or the kind of music that you create. So when I listened to your music, I was like, no way. It's like, how is this even possible that such a tiny female, I don't know if that, like, it's not an insult, but just like a female, like, does all of this? Like, it honestly blew my mind how talented you
Thank you.
are.
Those are incredibly kind words. Appreciate that.
So, how did you start out doing this? So, did you perform at like smaller places? How did you get to perform and get your name out there?
Well, I mean, obviously, I picked up the guitar and then you start getting the love for it and joined some friends in high school and in the garage. And then it progresses from there where you kind of like join battle of the bands and get onto stage. And I mean, I've been playing music since forever, really. And kind of started getting, perhaps, for lack of other words, a little frustrated, perhaps, with my own development and like what I could and couldn't do in the constraints of a band because you have so many other people to consider and to work with and work around. And it becomes complex sometimes, and there's always a little bit of give and take when you're in a band, well, depending on the nature of the band, but most of the ones that I were in was a collective, so it's equal, it's a democracy. And then in other projects that I started pushing the boundaries with because I wanted to test my own skill and step out the box and try something else, I felt perhaps creatively stuck. So started getting into a lot of the session stuff just for fun, like jamming in a Alice Cooper tribute band and Led Zeppelin and ACDC and like all these kind of like tribute shows and such, which were just sort of breaking the mold a little bit and stepping out from behind the bands that I've been with for years and decades even. Yeah. And then I think from there it's just been a natural progression to try push myself further and just like run with having some fun and not being being super serious, but not being so super serious that you put yourself into a box, if that makes sense. So being solo, I can do whatever I want,
That's
really.
so cool. So is that kind of how you then started performing at different places and opening for people?
Yeah, I think from there, I mean, like you get in touch with different people, you land up getting contacts, and they lead to other contacts. I mean, for example, getting all the way to Kenya was quite a long story of playing a local show, which led to a Mozambican show, which was a Botswana show, and then an Angola show where you meet people and then you go to Kenya. You know what I mean? So like, it's just networking and really just pushing yourself, pushing to get out there with as many things as possible, touching base and being different. I think going solo is perhaps another
That
way of
is so
doing that.
cool that you have toured to so many places as a solo artist. What
Mm.
basically did you do there? Like, obviously, yes, you performed, but for what show did you perform?
Several different things. So, like Kenya in specific was the Nairobi Guitar Festival, where I held a guitar clinic with a bunch of other musicians. And it was such an awesome, awesome, awesome time being there. Angola was, I actually did vocals for that show. I wasn't doing guitar, I was doing vocals for Sisters of Metal. We performed to 24,000 people at Rock no Rio in Katumbela. And yeah, Botswana, Mozambique have always been like tours, jamming, whatever. I mean, I'm always out amped for something. Like you can phone me at 3 in the morning and say, "Do you want to have a jam?" And we'll probably be jamming. So if it wasn't for a show,
So,
it
how
was
do
for
you
fun.
experience tours? Because, I mean, obviously, in a band, it's so much easier because you are there with a group of people that you know. So, how is it for you to tour as a solo artist?
It's tough because you have to like make sure that you're doing everything. I have to carry everything, set everything up, make sure it's all cool. Luckily, I've got some people who help me, and even though you are a solo artist, it doesn't mean you necessarily travel alone or that you don't have a team. I've got a wonderful PR with Diva Graphic, and I've got a wonderful crew with Skulk Porter who helps with all kinds of stuff like that. And then, you need to build yourself a cool team. It is very different being alone because it's quite scary. I think with a band, you kind of have that camaraderie and you have the fun jokes on tour. Whereas when you're solo, you have to make it fun for yourself because you come off stage and then what? You go back to your hotel room and there's like no band to party with. You kind of party on your ace, and you need to get used to having fun on your own. So it's very different experiences being with a band or being
Definitely.
solo,
And
I think.
lucky for you, most of the shows or some of the shows that you've done, there are other bands that you know really well. So, luckily for you, you can always chill with them and just vibe with them because it's always good seeing other bands that you kind of grow with.
Absolutely. I'm always for networking. I mean, like at shows, I never sit still. I never stand still. I'm always networking, chatting to people, saying high five, or saying hi and giving high fives. I try to be like around and talking to people because people have made such a huge effort to come and support me, fans and friends, and like I want to hear all about what they're doing too. I mean, they've taken time out of their life to come see me. Why can't I see them? So it's cool. And like even if you are traveling alone, there's always friends to be made, people to be spoken to, and
And
things to
it's
be
so
learned.
important. Also, for a solo artist, it is important to keep networking with other people because
Yeah,
you have to present yourself all the time. So it is difficult, but it's also super fun because in a band, you sometimes have to worry about other people and their actions and the fact that you are connected to that as well.
yeah. With bands, you have a bit of like the guilty by association, I suppose, but it also depends on the occasion. I think a lot of people can hide behind the band and like do a lot of stuff behind the name, and like nobody really knows, because it's hidden. So you can get away with a lot more perhaps sometimes. But I don't really get into the politics. I'm just there to make music and have fun and be around cool people. But I think like as a solo, it's hard because you constantly have to you constantly in character, so to speak. You know, you're constantly performing, whether you're on stage or off stage, because whoever you're talking to, you are networking because they are a fan, they're a friend, they're somebody who can teach you something cool, you know, like or has a connection. So you're always on the clock as a solo artist. Whereas I think with a band, sometimes you can tag team. You know, like you some like your bandmate might be slightly more kitted to talk to a particular person than somebody else. Whereas if you're a solo person, you kind of like have to deal with everyone, you
Was it
know.
difficult for you to adapt to the industry and having to put yourself out there as like a extroverted person and knowing that you sometimes have to start the conversation with people that you need to or want to work with?
Absolutely. I mean, believe it or not, even I'm not somebody who is like this outgoing person. I like to stay in my room with a cup of tea and a book and my guitar and my cat, you know, and like that's what I do. I'm actually a very boring person. But as a performer, I am a performer and I'm an artist and I create worlds with what I do. And, you know, like it's a whole different thing. It's a performance. It's similar like to like Cirque du Soleil, I suppose. You go, you watch the acrobats flying around, and you are there with them and experiencing that. But after the show, they wipe their makeup off and they go home to their families. And it doesn't mean they're a different person. It's just they are not performing. They are like home, so to speak. So that change is sometimes difficult when you are a solo artist because you come off stage and like you can't just like go chill. You're actually still on the clock. It never ends because if you don't make it happen, no one
So,
else
would you
will.
say that it was a difficult journey for you, or not difficult as per se, but a very interesting and a learning curve to be a female in the music industry and especially being a solo artist?
Well, I don't know what it's like to be a male in the industry, but I do know what it's like to be a female in the industry, and like it is what it is, you know. I don't like it or like to think any differently of myself because of the physical form I've been born into. But you know, like we should all, if you're good at your instrument and you play cool music, and then cool, you know. Yeah, there have always been challenges. I've had many challenges, many. I've been in dangerous situations at gigs because of like being a woman and being young or being smaller or like this or that, and you know, and it's unnecessary sometimes, but at the same time, yeah, it's all just learning curve, and it all just like prepares you for life because life is tough, and it's all part of it. I don't necessarily agree with how people treat others in that situation, and like it irritates me and bugs me tremendously. But at the end of the day, like I'm just not going to be weighed down by it. I just want to play music. It doesn't really matter in what shape or form it comes. If it's cool, it's cool. And if it's not, then it's not. Like, I don't know why people have to put things in boxes when art is art. Who decides? I decide because I created it. You decide because you created it, you know? Or you decide because you listen
I
to
think
it,
that's a
whatever.
very important thing to remember, especially for younger females, and not only for them, but like for females and or other people in the industry is like you are not there to fit in. You are there to show who you are and put your art into the world. And I think that's seriously amazing that that is how you see it and not, as you said, being put in a box because of the body that you've been born into.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can always like remember why. Remember why you picked up your instrument. Did you pick it up because you were like, oh, I'm a girl and now like what? No, you picked it up because hell yeah, this is awesome. You know? And it's the same with anything, be it like sports or science or flip whatever, you know, like if somebody tells you you can't, like do it twice and take photos, you know what I mean? Like why not? Why not is the question. And yeah, I think for me, I've been fighting for 29 years of my life being a woman, but again, I say like I don't know what it's like to be a man. Like it's just how it is. I think you have struggles either side, but it must never define you. I want to be a great guitarist because I'm a great guitarist. And in whoever is listening to this later, man, woman, other, all of the alphabet and colors worldwide, you are you and you do you. Like, it's pointless trying to be something else or worry about what other people are going to think or say or conform you to. And if we're talking music in specific, if you like it, then do it, and make it for. Remember why. Like, you're going to always have people who hate it, people who love it, and people who don't care. And as much as I believe in standing up for female musicians and putting us in the spotlight and really supporting like Women Crush Wednesdays and all of that, I'm very pro seeing more of us in the scene. I don't think we should ever use it as a crutch or something as an advantage. Or I don't know if I'm making sense. Like, we should never use it. We should never say like, "Oh, listen to us because we're a woman. Listen to us because we are good."
Exactly. Listen to
you
us
know?
because we are artists and not
Yeah,
based
I
on
am.
the gender or your pronoun.
Yeah, yeah. Like, we should never have that in our heads. Like, as women, we should never have that in the front, in the foreground. Like, it should be the last thing on the list that we talk about. Is like, oh, and by the way, we're women. High five.
Yeah.
This is pretty rad. That is pretty rad and it's pretty cool. But it should never be the main focus. Sorry, I went on a rant
You had
there.
some health challenges over the
Yeah.
last year. So you have nerve damage and paralysis in some parts of your body. So, if I might ask, what caused that?
Degenerative neurotransmitter disease, which I've had pretty much all my life, but this was triggered by a tremendous amount of stress. I think I was too worried about what other people were thinking about me at the time, and yeah, landed up collapsing, and it caused a lot of complications from that, from my fall, and so on, and also the disease lingering. So I think that was just sort of the last straw that broke the camel's back as to what happened last year. And my brain kind of decided to do a reset. So, because of that, it doesn't really communicate all that well with parts of my body, and I struggle particularly with my left hand, which as a guitarist is quite challenging. But it makes for interesting conversation and for a great challenge every morning. So, and I feel like I can learn something every day, which is the purpose of me being on this planet. All in all, it's all good, you know?
So, which part of your left side has been paralyzed or been affected by this? Because I know that you said your hand, but like which fingers?
So, I mean, look, it comes and goes, but, and it's like my entire left side is affected and in various degrees. What is the most permanent and like the most obvious in what most people are worried about, which is the hand, as you've asked, which will be my pinky, ring, and middle finger. So on my left hand currently, it's feeling wise just my index and thumb, part of my middle finger, and then the ring finger comes and goes, but like pinky is always pretty much dead. So yeah, it depends on how, if I'm like very stressed or the medication that I'm on and so on, how the nerves communicate with the brain. So yeah, and it runs up the arm and down the arm, and it gets very interesting. But yeah, I struggle in particular with these three. And as I say, they come and go in terms of feeling and in terms of use. So currently today they're a bit sluggish, but if I had to spend some time warming up, I will be able to jam a good show
That must be
tonight. You know
such
what
a
I mean?
scary situation because you never know what's going to happen before a show. Like, obviously, you said if you warm up
Sure.
good enough or well enough that it would work and you can do the show, but still the stress of not knowing if it is going to work this time.
Yeah, I could get on stage and I could have a seizure and die. You know, like it's the reality. But I could also be fine until I'm 100 years old. We don't know. And I mean, I think I spent a bit of time in very dark, well, no, very dark depression and being very down about it, and sort of not wanting to be on this plane anymore because of it. Because I really believe that playing guitar is like not only my purpose but my calling and like my reason for living. So if I can't do it, then why am I here? However, I realized that it was a way to reset and a way to relearn and a way to teach myself things, not just in a physical way, but like mental control, pain management, like just resilience and patience, concentration and focus. So like getting through the disease with all the pain and all of that, and like having to relearn has actually taught me far more than a year without it, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I can sit and I can wallow about it, and yes, I am. It is very terrifying and it's incredibly stressful. I could wake up tomorrow and I may not be able to get out of bed, and I may be completely vegetable status, and that's it for Robyn Ferguson. Or again, I can spring out of bed like a spring chicken and run around. You're like, we never know. But I'm not going to live in fear. I'm not afraid. And why should anything stop us? And if I can't feel three fingers, then we'll keep going until the hand won't work. And then I'll learn how to play guitar the other way. And then we'll, hopefully by that time, maybe I can sing better and sing guitar. But like music will be made. If I need to tap something with my toe, then we'll do it. But it will happen. There's no playing
That
is
is
no
so
option.
amazing that this is how positive you are about this. And I think that teaches all of us a lot. And it also teaches us to not take things for granted. Because, I mean, here you are living with this and you still make the most out of everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are people far less fortunate than I am. I saw that when I was in hospital, like in people who who go through way worse than what I do. Yeah, like my brain gets a bit mushed up when I stutter and then I do the boogie on the ground, but like sick dance moves come out of that, you know. You can look at it like that, or you can look at it as like a big tragedy that you're having a seizure, you know. It's how you look at things. It's just everybody's got stuff going on, and my stuff is not bigger than your stuff. It's not bigger than the next person's stuff. It's just stuff. And I'm no more important than you are, than the person who sweeps the street, than the person who pays the bills, you know? We are all like equal and we all have stuff. And in our human minds, like, yeah, something is more fair and less fair, and like we can go around in a very big spiral here, and it can become a very deep and serious convo. But we all just have to be grateful for what we have and for the lessons that we have. And if we're in a tough time, yeah, it's super cheesy and super easy to say like, oh, just look at the bright side. But accept what's happening, feel it all, let it in, like take it all in, feel everything to the maximum, but don't let it
Or
destroy
define
you.
you.
Like, yeah, or define you. Like, live it, breathe it, put on the coat, take off the coat, put in the coat. You know, bad fashion. Go look for the next thing, you know. Um, and just to keep always like going, I'm really grateful for what I have right now, and like we can always help and send positivity to others, and we should,
Living
we
with all
must.
these challenges and all the reasons to not make music, you still made music. And just like you said, you stayed so positive with everything. You just released an amazing EP called Having a on all major platforms, which is amazing. So, what was your inspiration for the album?
Yeah, so I mean, Falling Forward obviously talks about the story of me being ill and like the decision to be positive and to like make the best out of it and to go like, this is not going to get me down. So Harbinger is perhaps like the what if question. So I like to maybe see it in a more like, if we want to lighten the mood here slightly, and see it more in a fantasy world. Falling Forward would be the like the journey of going from one world to another, whereas Harbinger is that split second decision of like now or never. And it's seeing all timelines and all parallels and all everything all at once and deciding like, is this who and what I want to be? Is this what I want? Is this where we're going? And sort of like hearing the lapel de vide, which is like the call of the void, and figuring out like what we're going to do with it, and how big that moment of choice is and how we take that for granted. So I think during lockdown in particular, I was quite inspired by like coming off this awesome album with Falling Forward, and then seeing a lot of my friends going through terrible, terrible times mentally with lockdown. And I can relate in a slightly different way, not only because I'm in lockdown, but because of like my disease and being isolated like literally a year ago, almost to the day. And just seeing, sort of having gone through something some like similar mentally, and now seeing them go through it, and how some of them haven't managed to cope, and have been consumed by it and have ended their timelines on this plane, and like just being brought to that edge again in my own thought pattern, and going like, sure, I went right on that edge and I chose this. What if I had chosen that? So that's Harbinger in a nutshell. It's an extended story, but it also
So,
stands
my
on its own.
question to you is, what is your writing process in general? What would you start with, or how do you put together your songs?
It's quite different. I think, like, firstly, I need to clear out all the old stuff, so do a big cleanup and try to chill for a little bit and just not touch a guitar for a day or two, which is a weird thing to say, but put it down. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. So put it down for a day or two, and then I try to get out in nature and become a little bit more grounded with like where I'm at. And basically, when I sit down, it starts off with melodies and perhaps a beat. I often like to just put on like a random drum track, which I just slap together, find something that feels like a cool groove, and then I just jam over it until something comes. And then from there, I slowly start developing, like I make a loop, and then from there, I start developing a melody line. And once I have a melody line, I build the entire structure around it, because your melody line is what tells your story. You don't draw the cover before you write the book necessarily. Or sometimes you do, I suppose, but in my case, I write a couple pages and sometimes the ending before I color the front page. So, yeah, a bit haphazardly to
So,
answer your
from the
question.
moment that you became a solo artist, was the idea always that you are not going to add vocals to your music?
No. So, like, I mean, again, I'm not going to box myself. A lot of people have asked me, like, ooh, it's instrumental. Is the next one going to be instrumental? Ooh, two are instrumentals. The next, ooh, three are now. Ooh. And, well, my answer is, ooh, we'll see. I think I mean, at the time when I brought out Alizarin, I was like doing a lot of not only guitar playing, but a lot of vocal playing. And I've always been a guitarist first, and that's always been my first love, becoming a vocalist. And I think a lot of people know me as a vocalist. Well, up until like last year, knew me more as a vocalist than a guitarist. And that was like cool, but also like a little bit like, you know? I was like, oh, weird. And I've always thought myself a better guitarist than a vocalist. So it was like messing with my brain. And I just decided also, like, I felt I was getting to that point where I felt like I was literally screaming. Like, I mean, I'm a death metal, black metal vocalist, so I scream, but I was literally screaming at people the whole time. And with lyrics, I'm telling you what to feel. I'm telling you what is going on. I'm telling you. And I was tired of that. I wanted to listen a little bit. I wanted to more set a mood and give a blank canvas, and sort of just like see my guitar as, here's the canvas, here's the pen, here's the paper, almost like an aid, like a happy pill, a happy drug. Go like, cool, what do you need? Here's all the colors. What do you want to paint? Go for it. Do whatever you wish. And let your mind go, and let it like resonate with you as a person, like where it needs to, like in your heart. Like if you're having a crappy day, or if it's an awesome day, or like you're getting pumped, or like you're sad and you want to cry, or whatever. Like let it talk to you and like guide you to like your own space. Like I don't know what you're feeling. I can't tell you. And yeah, sometimes we can relate with lyrics, and I'm sure I'm quite confident that there will be lyrics in some of my stuff. But for now, I'm more just like wanting to create a safe space for
Yeah, because
people
I
to
spoke
feel.
to René Theron last week, and I asked him the same question because I was also like, so this is, you make ambient music, which is amazing, but would you ever add vocals? And he was like, yeah, maybe one day, but he also had the similar answer as he doesn't want to tell you how to feel. And
Mm.
I honestly appreciate that so much more than listening to a pop song. yes, pop songs are really cool and whatever, otherwise they would not be pop songs. But like the fact that you can listen to any song that is on your album, say for instance, in any mood, you can be super happy and to it, you can be sad and listen to it, you can create your own words to the song, or not create your words, but like your own emotion to that instead of being tied down.
The whole thing is to like comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. That's like, I just want to throw a spanner in the works. Like, think of it this way: if you go into an art gallery or into an art museum, and there's like an exhibition happening, some of the artwork is going to be like wistful, like, and playful, and like, bubbly and happy and cheerful and childlike, and other stuff is going to be super dark and brutal and grim, and you're going to be like, the hell. And some things are going to be so wacky, you're just going to be like, this makes no sense, but it's bloody cool, and this makes no sense and it's bloody weird. But it's like walking through an art gallery, or like a room with different art exhibitions and different things happening and different performances. It's something, it's a different world, and that's kind of when you put on my music, that's what I wish to show you. It's like, come inside, experience what you wish. There's all kinds of things, like pick a room, pick a place, create. And that's all I want for my music. I'll set a mood, and there'll be different, like my songs perhaps are different rooms, if you wish, or different worlds. So like, this is the mood. Go wild, feel what you
Like,
like.
I'm giving you the canvas, make of this what you want.
Paint, go crazy, feel. I see my music as alchemy, and it's destroying and recreating and picking apart and coming up with something else. It's like, ooh, what if we take this and that and mush it together? It doesn't always work out, like, it's like sometimes when you go somewhere, it's like, it's really it's a vibe. Nobody said it was a good vibe, but it's a vibe. Or like, other times it's amazing. You never know what you're going to come up with. So yeah, I don't know. People always like, oh, you're a musician. No, I'm an artist, actually. Like, I paint, I sculpt, and I happen to also play the guitar, and that's what most people like the most out of all the things I do. But all I want to do is make something fun and something different. And I think everybody is so stuck in this current world, and it's maybe like not necessarily the nicest world. It's tough as is. So if I can help open a door, be it a Pandora's box maybe sometimes, but if I can open the door to a new world where people can find some love and freedom and let their minds go and their hearts heal,
So, what are your hopes and dreams for Harbinger? Because, I mean, you released it the 1st of August and it's already been spread so far. You've done an interview with SA Guitarist. So, like, what do you want to achieve with the new EP?
Yeah, it's already done like fantastically well. Launching it at Metal of Africa's Winterfest this weekend was awesome. It's gone huge. There's been some international reviews and interviews already, and local ones as well. So it's been really great. I just hope to keep pushing forward, and I hope that this shows maybe a different side of like what I've been doing, but ultimately is more love into the world. Like, more just like, here's more stuff to help. Like, what are you feeling? What do you need? Like, here's stuff. Like, can this help you where you're at? And I want to keep doing that. So I keep pushing the envelope. I hope that it reaches some different ears. I think because the two songs are quite contradictory, I think it's going to be opened up to a lot of perhaps criticism and interesting thought. And I welcome it because I want to be different, and it's going to be interesting. I hope that it will connect me with different people and like outside of the norm, and that I'll be able to develop cool relationships with those people and create something rad that we can share with more people and more people and more people and more people, and just keep creating art and
So,
making the world
if
fun.
you, 2 years ago, when you started becoming a solo artist, did you ever imagine yourself being internationally known and recognized?
Yes, I did. I hope, I prayed for it. I've been working towards it since the moment I've picked a guitar up, and I feel like there's still so much to do. I definitely didn't think I would be where I am right now. Many things I feel like I've managed to fail at dramatically, and other things I feel like I've achieved more than what I ever set out to. And it's been a roller coaster. Definitely didn't think I'd be here. And honestly, I'm really stoked that I am here, because this is, I keep saying it like every interview, every album, everything. It's just, this is the beginning. But this time I'm serious. This really is just the beginning. Like, big things are coming. And I'm so excited for that. So, yeah, I mean, if the last 2 years are anything to go by, the next, that's going to be, phew, hold on to your hats. It's going to be great.
So the very last question that I have for you is, who would you say is Robyn Ferguson when she is not performing and not creating art?
No one. No, I am music and art. Like, that's what I do. Like, I don't not do that. So if I'm, that's what defines me, I suppose. So I would be just empty. But if you mean with like not so seriously, and like what I do on the side, which I presume is what you actually mean, I'm a geek, and like I like sitting and reading and painting and that kind of stuff, and being out in nature. Like, my favorite thing to do is having a walk. Like, I try to walk every day if I don't blow away in jolly Cape Town. But or if the weather, yeah, like sometimes it turns into a run. But yeah, I just try to be down and quiet and just see the little things. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for the interview. It has been such an honor to interview you, and the positivity that you radiate, not only by your, like, this interview, but your music as well. It's been a true inspiration, and I can only hope that you become super famous and live to 100, because you deserve to.
Thank you so much. That's such kind words. I really appreciate it. I hope that in 100 years we will talk again. Well, definitely before then, but that we'll continue to talk for 100 years.